ZooMaa has gained 17,000 Twitch followers in the span of a 30-day period, and while that number might not be exactly up to date by the time you're watching this video, the point still stands. He's been absolutely crushing it with his content, his audience is raving about it, and he's quickly created one of the best, if not the best, content series in COD within the span of a month or two. So what we're gonna do today is break down 3 principles behind his success that hopefully you can learn from as a creator, as a marketer, whatever your position may be. But before we can do that, I think we need to give this story some context just to really do it some justice. Because just a few months ago, ZooMaa announced his retirement as a professional Call of Duty player. Unfortunately, tragedy struck and he had to step away from the video game, the esport that he loved because of a thumb injury, which is super unfortunate. And for most people, esport athlete or not, when you have to step away from something that you've dedicated so much time, effort, and energy into for the better part of a decade, if not longer, that's gonna hit you pretty hard, and most people will go into a downward spiral for at least a few months. But fortunately, in this case, that didn't happen. Right after his retirement, he jumped right into content creation as a streamer, as a personality for the New York Subliners, the team that he was a pro player for previously, and really, he hasn't missed a beat. And as a cornerstone of his venture into content has been The Flank, a Call of Duty-based talk show that covers recent drama, covers the matches that happened that day, interviews pro players in a relatively unfiltered setting, and it's pretty much everything that you could ask for as a COD fan. It's really the piece of content that Call of Duty was missing. So what exactly makes this show so successful? Like I said earlier, there are 3 main things, along with some bonus tips at the end that I have for you, that make The Flank such a successful piece of content. And also, real quick before we get into the 3 main keys, I think it goes without saying that a foundational component here is ZooMaa as a person, his personality. He's one of the most likable people in the Call of Duty scene. He's very energetic, he's outgoing. He has the personality of a great content creator. Nonetheless, there are a lot of content creators with a great personality that don't quite take off because they don't understand how to leverage that personality into an actual series or into an actual brand that people repeatedly show up to and enjoy and want over and over again. And this first major principle I want to bring up here is the unfiltered nature of The Flank. If you're in the COD scene, you know that drama and storylines exist, and there's plenty of them. It's one of the things that sets COD apart from many other esports. That's a personality-driven esport. Yet, when it comes to team content or league content, we don't always get an unfiltered look at players' personalities because obviously from a brand perspective, you want to be brand safe, you want to make sure sponsors want to work with you, so you kind of got to walk that fine line between giving people access and making things entertaining and compelling, but also making sure you don't turn off any potential sponsors, especially from non-endemic brands who might not fully understand the storylines and the drama that takes place in COD. With that said though, that doesn't mean there isn't a place for this type of content, and ZooMaa's Flank proves that exactly. People want that unfiltered access to pro players. They don't want people to go through a PR filter whenever they're talking about things, whenever they're sharing their thoughts on things that are happening in the league. Of course, there are some topics that are just off limits, and that's okay. But compared to other COD content, whether it be podcasts, whether it be the CDL YouTube channel, whether it be the broadcast, doesn't matter, compared to those other pieces of content, The Flank is extremely unfiltered. And it really taps into that element that makes COD so special. And the second key point here is that The Flank is super consistent. Like I said earlier, a lot of content creators have an amazing personality. They have great ideas for content formats, but they're just not consistent enough with it for it to actually take off over time and to actually build up a loyal audience that returns on a day-to-day or on a week-to-week basis. And this is especially true for esports athletes. I mean, it's understandable too. They have time commitments, they have scrims, they have to be grinding the game. They're paid to be the highest performing esports athlete they can be, so content sometimes takes a back seat. But even without that time commitment, a lot of creators aren't nearly as consistent as ZooMaa is with The Flank. After every single match day nearly, I think every single match day, I'm sure there's an exception in there, but from what I've seen, after every single match day, they're going live to recap the day, get pro player opinions, give speculation, and give fans the content they want to see. It's like if COD had a post-game show, which I'm surprised they don't. I think they should bring The Flank on eventually as their official post-game show. But right now, that's what The Flank functions as, and it's super consistent. Fans know that after they're done watching the COD League, go over and watch The Flank with ZooMaa. And it's not just after match days too. Whenever breaking news drops in COD and drama happens, there's what's called an emergency flank, where ZooMaa goes live and broadcasts the flank to discuss what just happened. An example of this is when Empire dropped Huke. Everyone was kind of shocked by it. I was like, holy crap, that just happened. So immediately ZooMaa fired up the flank, and again, it got great engagement. Why? Because people were looking for information about what just happened, and ZooMaa's show provided just that. And that consistency of knowing when and where to find a given piece of content is crucial for the long-term success of any given content series. And with point number 3, it's actually building directly off of point number 2 of being consistent. But real quick, if you're enjoying this video, drop a subscription down below. I'm posting new videos just like this on marketing in gaming and esports every single week, so I'd really appreciate that. And now getting into point number 3, it's being timely. Like we discussed just a second ago with Huke getting dropped by the Empire and ZooMaa immediately going live with the emergency flank, that component of the flank makes it an amazing content series as well, because when things happen, fans want that information. They want that behind the scenes access. They want to know why what happened just happened. And even if there's not a direct answer and it's all just speculation, the fact that ZooMaa is able to see news happen on the timeline and immediately go live with an episode of the emergency flank and give fans that sort of behind the scenes access, again, whether or not there's a direct answer, because there wasn't with the Huke situation, Huke or Huke, I don't know how to pronounce it. Let me know in the comments down below, by the way. But because he's able to go live super quick in a timely fashion, he's able to bring in that audience that wants to find out more about the given situation. And honestly, huge props to ZooMaa for this aspect of his content, because as a content creator myself, I know just how hard it is to be able to fire up a stream on a moment's notice and create compelling content and give the audience something they want to see. Like, I plan out these videos well in advance. I live stream once in a while other than the podcast, but it's hard to do, much less on a moment's notice. Maybe when you're relaxing and just chilling, enjoying your night, you see some news drop and you gotta fire up the stream. Obviously, he enjoys it. He loves what he does from what I can see, but I can still imagine it's very difficult. So mad respect to him. And like I said, there are some bonus kind of I don't know if they're tips or just principles that I observed in my research kind of planning for this video. And one of them is that the organization New York Subliners gives ZooMaa support with his content. And I'm really impressed by this personally, because like I said earlier, it's not necessarily the most quote unquote brand safe content. So you see a lot of orgs kind of shy away from that super unfiltered player-based content, but I'm really impressed that NYSL has actively promoted ZooMaa's live streams, actively promoted the flank on their own platforms, which helps the organization, in my opinion, because it gives fans more compelling content, and ZooMaa is still a part of that NYSL content creator roster, so it bolsters their content profile, but it also helps give their creators and give their players a platform and helps ZooMaa grow his own personal brand. And in my opinion, that is what the relationship between a player and an organization should look like. The player's content and personality obviously helps the org improve their content. The org's platform helps to drive people to the player's audience and gets more people to follow their personal brand. And in general, I know this isn't an NYSL case study, so bear with me here, but overall, they're really good about not being too safe with their content. And from what we've seen, there really hasn't been a tweet that they've gotten backlash for, and their audience is really receptive of it because they're able to have fun and be a little bit, I don't even want to say edgy, because edgy has like a negative connotation, but they're able to push the envelope and push those boundaries without going too far. And that's a really, really powerful skill, because you give fans the content they want to see, but you also stay respectful. And overall, I would still consider it pretty brand safe. I'm using air quotes there, but hopefully that makes sense. And one more thing that I noticed was that a lot of times ZooMaa also encourages interaction, and he set certain challenges for his audience to hit. Like most recently, he just dyed his hair platinum blonde, and there was a certain sub goal that his audience had to hit to complete that objective. So, I mean, this doesn't make or break the show, but overall, watching his content, his chat is super interactive, and I think that is a result of him also reciprocating that interaction. He's not just sitting there on the flank, not staring at the chat, not interacting with his audience. He communicates with them on a regular basis, so the audience reciprocates that and communicates back and is very, very engaged while the show is live. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed it, again, drop a like down below, hit that sub button. I'm posting new videos just like this every week. And I do have an interview that I did interviewing the New York Subliners social media manager, Yangsin. Amazing interview. She's super knowledgeable. So if you want to learn more about the Subliners approach to marketing, click on that video that's popping up on the screen right now, and I will go ahead and see you over there.